This weekend, we were greeted to our first major look into the next generation of gaming. Sure, the Xbox Series X has been announced for a while, and there are some really cool games coming out for it, many of which are also coming to PC, like Bright Memory, for example, and the Switch is still kicking major ass and going strong in my book. But over the weekend, we finally got a look at the PS5 and its launch titles, as well as the 2020 PC Gamer Show, which showed off a bunch of upcoming games. So I want to talk about some of those games that I'm excited for, some that I'm not really that excited for, and some general thoughts about both of the showcases and the upcoming next generation of games. So let's start with the PS5. I know I have been openly critical about PlayStation and Sony lately, and I'm really hoping to see some new things from them on the PS5. I absolutely love the PS2 and I love the PS3, and while I like the PS4, as a console generation, I was overall disappointed, and am disappointed with its first-party game library. So let's start about what I am excited for regarding the PS5. There were actually several game announcements that I am now very much looking forward to. The first that really caught my interest was Sackboy, A Big Adventure. I am a huge Little Big Planet fan. It was such a fun and creative series, and I love to see it make a return on the PS5. Unlike the other Little Big Planet games, Sackboy, A Big Adventure takes the series from a side-scroller to a 3D platformer. Platforming games are right up there with first-person shooters as my favorite genre, and this game looks so fun. It reminds me of the classic platformers from the N64 and PS2 in the best ways possible. I'm a little disappointed to see that Media Molecule isn't making this one. It's Sumo Digital again. Not that Sumo is a terrible company or anything. I still really liked Little Big Planet 3 despite its flaws, but I just think Media Molecule's creativity suits the franchise a little better. That said, Sackboy looks amazing and a lot of fun, and I'm hoping to see some of the more creation elements come back. I would love to see what kind of 3D levels people can come up with for it. The next game that caught my eye is Destruction AllStars. Twisted Metal has been absent since the triumphant return on the PS3, and while this certainly isn't Twisted Metal, it is a car combat game, and I'm glad to see the genre make a bit of a resurgence. I'm iffy on the art style. It reminds me a little too much of Fortnite, but the gameplay looks fun. Instead of guns and missiles, all of your attacks are melee based. It still looks filled with destruction and violence, and that's a plus in my book. Hopefully, if this game does well, it will encourage Sony to give Twisted Metal another go, because I love that series and the PS3 reboot was so good and underrated. The next game was Ghostwire Tokyo. This game was actually announced back in 2019. It's a first-person action game. It takes place in a cyberpunk Japan kind of setting, where you fight these techie-looking ghosts. It looks really cool and fast-paced. I like the combat is all tied to what looks like magic instead of swords and guns. It reminds me of the Shadow Warrior reboot a little bit from an aesthetic point of view. I hope it comes to PC because it looks like the kind of game that would benefit from tight mouse and keyboard controls, but regardless, it still looks like an interesting game. After that, they showed Astro's Playroom, and that looks so fun. Like with Sackboy, it looks like a throwback, old-school 3D platformer collectathon kind of thing. And I always want 3D platformer collectathon kind of things. I guess this game is a sequel to a game called Astrobot Rescue Mission, which is a VR game on the PS4 that I've never heard of or played because I don't play VR games. But regardless, Astro's Playroom looks so fun. It showcases what looks like PS5's version of the HD Rumble, like with what the Switch has. It's kind of a gimmick, but HD Rumble has some cool things in games on the Switch, so I'm willing to see what Sony's version can do. Best part about it is this game is going to be bundled for free with all copies of the PS5. I would have purchased this game, but knowing that it's included is great. The next game is Bugsnax. This game was made by a team behind Octodad, which is a fun and charming little indie game, and Bugsnax looks just as fun and charming. I love the idea of the snack bug hybrids. I love that eating different ones gives you different abilities. Not a lot of gameplay was shown, but I imagine the game is a puzzle platformer kind of thing where eating different bugs helps you accomplish different goals. It actually kind of reminds me of Space Station Silicon Valley on the N64, and I would love to see it kind of play like that because that game is a lot of fun. Regardless, I love the idea, I love the art style and art direction, and I think this game is going to be very creative and fun. Caro Caro Bonito also did the song for the trailer, and that's a plus in my book as well. Next up is the Demon's Souls remake. This is a big one and everybody is already talking about it. I am admittedly over this whole remake trend. I think it's a little lazy. There have been some very good remakes made, but remakes also give the potential to ruin certain aspects of a game's original vision. That said, Demon's Souls is an underrated masterpiece. It is my favorite Soulsborne game, and it kickstarted the entire genre. And more people need to play it, so if a remake brings more people to Demon's Souls, then that's a good thing. I still have the PS3 one, and I play it on occasion, though the servers have been taken down, so many of the features are inaccessible now. What I love about the original Demon's Souls is just how bleak and somber the atmosphere is. You feel like the world of Boletaria is just this hopeless, ethereal world. I absolutely love it. It has one of my favorite levels ever as well, the Tower of Latria. It's this creepy and eerie level with perfect atmosphere, and the Mind Flayer is such a creepy enemy to me. I hope they keep the general art direction and atmosphere similar. I hope they keep the hub world because I actually preferred that to the open world style of Dark Souls, and I hope they keep the complex weapon crafting systems in place. It has a lot of potential to be the definitive version of the original game, but it also has potential to get messed up as well. Still, I am hoping it's just as good as the original, and I am looking forward to raging in those poison swamps once again. The last game that I was really looking forward to from PlayStation's conference was Deathloop. Deathloop is being developed by Arcane Studios, who made Dishonored, and is being published by Bethesda. It's a first-person shooter with a sort of Happy Death Day thing going on where the characters relive a time loop repeatedly. You play as an assassin named Colt, locked in an eternal conflict with another assassin named Juliana, as you try to break the time loop and put an end to your eternal conflict. The game looks really fun, with some supernatural powers thrown into the gameplay. I love that we're in this kind of first-person shooter renaissance, where developers aren't afraid to open up and try new things with their games. They're not just obsessed with making it as military realistic as possible anymore, and that's a definitely good thing for the genre. The game also has an invasion mechanic where you take control of Juliana to kill other players in their games. It's also coming to PC as well, which is where I would be playing it, but it looks pretty good so far and I'm looking forward to seeing more from it. As far as the rest of the announcements, Spider-Man Miles Morales looks decent. I never actually finished the PS4 Spider-Man game. It was a decent game and all, but I don't know. I just never really felt compelled to play much of it. Maybe I'll go back and finish it. I do like Miles as a character though, and I'm glad he's getting his own game. After seeing Spider-Verse, it proved to me that Miles can hold his own in media outside of the Ultimate Comics just fine, and as a character, he's become so much more than just an alternative to Peter Parker. I don't usually like copycat characters or mantle passing, but Miles is just one that was done very, very well. I'm assuming this game will be more of the same from the PS4 one, and if you're a fan of that, that should be a very good thing. This is going to be a standalone side game, similar in scope to like Wolfenstein Old Blood, a smaller mid-game before Insomniac Spider-Man 2 hits development, which I'm assuming will continue Peter's story from the original game. Insomniac has been pretty busy though, as another Ratchet & Clank was announced. Now, I love Ratchet & Clank. The 4 original games on the PS2 are simply amazing, and even though the games that came after don't match the PS2 games in terms of theming and tone, from a gameplay perspective, they're all very fun and similar to the PS2 counterparts. I am a little iffy on this one though. I need to see some more actual gameplay. The new trailer was billed as a gameplay trailer, but the whole thing was just scripted and cinematic. It was a turnoff for me. Even the brief showing of actual gun combat was scripted as the platform was destroyed. I don't know. I hope my initial feelings are wrong and that this was just an off trailer, but I'm really getting vibe of Sony's new cinematic walkie-talkie narrative cinematic direction for this game, which will just not work with me for Ratchet & Clank. I don't want scripted cinematic sequences with brief combat set pieces. I want traditional Ratchet & Clank. Also, it's a big pet peeve of mine, but I usually hate most time travel multiverse stories. I know I just said I liked Spider-Verse. It's one of the exceptions that I think can pull off multiverse as well, but most of the time, multiverse stories just feel like a cop-out when writers run out of ideas and want to soft reboot a franchise. They always get so complicated and confusing because of it, and this new Ratchet & Clank is going to be a multiverse story with a rumored female Ratchet from another dimension, and I don't know, I'm worried they may be jumping the shark with this one. Hopefully not, hopefully it's actually good, but I just have a bad first impression. We'll see. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. Godfall and Kena, Bridge of Spirits, both look okay. I need to see more gameplay before I really get an opinion. Godfall is flashy, but also looks kind of slow. If it's more Devil May Cry and less God of War 2018, I'll be into it, but it's a little hard to tell right now. The song choice for the trailer was kind of whack though, didn't fit the tone at all. Kena also looks okay. Reminds me of Pikmin meets Zelda. Has Overwatch's art style. I need to see some more of that. I think that it's hilarious that Grand Theft Auto 5 is getting yet another remaster for PS5. Rockstar has been milking the hell out of that game, and it's just sad. I'm not a Grand Theft Auto fan, so I don't really care, but I know many people have been asking for GTA 6 for a long time, and GTA 5 is starting to get as bad as Skyrim with how many times it's been remastered, repackaged, and reported. The last thing about the PS5 conference is that I'm not really into the design of the console itself. I don't think the Xbox X looks that great either. What happened to sleek and cool console designs? The Xbox X looks like a mini fridge, and the PS5 looks like a router that Mad Catz would have designed in 2004. And the console looks huge too. Where are you going to put that thing? It does look better in black, but those are fan images, and nothing official has been announced regarding other color schemes for the console. It's like Sony played that Detroit game and based their console off of that game. It looks like your uncle, who thinks he's cool, popping up his collar at the club to try and get girls that are way too young for him. Alright, enough about the PS5 conference, let's talk about the PC Gamer Show. First game I want to talk about is In Sound Mind. It's a puzzle horror game that reminds me of Amnesia and Penumbra. It doesn't look like you can fight back against the monsters and instead have to rely on running away and hiding like in those games. It's been a while since I played a horror game like Amnesia. I think Outlast might have been the last one I played like that, or Soma. I actually did play Soma. That came out after Outlast. But if it continues to look good, I will give that a try. Speaking of horror games and Outlast, Outlast Trials was announced, the follow-up to Outlast 2. It's a co-op horror game for up to 4 people. It takes place in a Cold War mind control facility. I liked the first Outlast, but never played the second one. Juan Snow, the other guy who occasionally makes content for Under the Bun, reviewed Outlast 2 when it first came out, and he was disappointed with it and didn't really like it, so I kind of stayed away from it because of his review. But I'm down for a co-op Outlast if it's more like the first one. The next game that I am looking forward to is DwarfHeim. It's an actual RTS in 2020. Whoa. Since Warcraft 3 Reforged was a huge, colossal failure, breaks my heart. Hopefully this game will fill the void in my heart that was left by Reforged. DwarfHeim is billing itself as a co-op RTS with heavy emphasis on working with friends to build your towns and armies to take down threats from opposing clans together. There's also going to be a relaxed sandbox mode for people who just like building and crafting and don't want to look forward to combat. It doesn't look like it's going to be as competitive or deep as Warcraft 3. Still, the game looks fun, and I'm happy to see developers trying to bring the RTS genre, especially with trying something new. And here we get to the really good stuff. We truly are in a first-person shooter renaissance, baby. First up is Metal Hellsinger, a rhythm FPS game that encourages you to kill to the beat of blasting heavy metal soundtracks. You can play the game like a traditional FPS if you desire, but you get more points and are more effective at killing when you're killing to the beat. It looks like a blast, taking inspiration from Doom as far as visuals. The soundtrack features people like Alyssa Whiteglues from Arch Enemy and Matt Heafy from Trivium. I am a huge Trivium fan, and Matt Heafy is a huge influence on me as a guitarist and vocalist in my heavy metal band, From Those Ashes. I see Trivium, I buy. Metal Hellsinger is definitely on my wish list. After that, we have Prodeus. This is a game that was announced a few years ago, and I've been following very closely since its announcement. It's an old-school retro FPS with heavy inspiration from Doom 2016. Graphically, the game looks like Doom 2016 done in pixel art form. It's fast, it's gory, it's violent, and it looks like an absolute blast to play. The game will also feature a SnapMap-like map creation editor, so all of you people who are sad that SnapMap wasn't in Doom Eternal, have something to look forward to now. The soundtrack is also being done by Andrew Hulshalt, who you should be familiar with by now, and is being published by Humble Games. It's supposed to launch this year, and I cannot wait for it. The next handful of games came from New Blood Interactive, the company that published Dusk and Medieval. First is Gloomwood, which is a spiritual successor to Thief. It's a retro stealth FPS being made by Dylan Rogers and David Szymanski, who have worked on games like Dusk. Graphically, the game reminds me of Dusk as well, with the atmosphere and setting of Bloodborne. It's definitely a more strategic and slower game than Dusk, though. There's a playable demo out for it as well. Also by New Blood Interactive is Ultrakill. It's being described as Devil May Quake, as it's a fast-paced FPS with Quake-like shooting, and it has a Devil May Cry-esque style system that rewards points for pulling off faster and flashier kills that you can put towards upgrading weapons in between missions. To further encourage your killing, blood is your health. This game looks badass, and New Blood Interactive just keeps saluting themselves as kings of the publishers for the retro shooter genre. There are many great looking games coming out soon for PC that were not shown on the PC Gamer Show as well. I want to show some of these right now. I'm not going to talk about them. I've already gone on long enough with the rest of my discussion. But I do just want to briefly show some of their trailers and put their names up on the screen for all of you so that you can see, so that you can be a little bit more aware of some of these games coming out. All of these look really good. All of them are on my wish list, and I can't wait for them to come out. Overall, we're looking at an exciting couple of years with really good looking game announcements. I can't wait to play some of these. I like that Sony seems to be more open to diversifying its game library again, so hopefully we'll see more platformers, shooters, fighters, and other genres as first-party titles on that system. But yeah, every year is just full of great-looking games, and my wallet weeps. Let me know which games you are looking forward to the most, and remember to like this video and subscribe for more future content. Thanks for watching.